Well, welcome everyone. Good afternoon. And I got 1 o'clock Tucson time, noon Pacific, should be 3 Eastern. So thanks for taking, the next hour out of your day to join us. We're going to be looking at, this is another in our series, QuickBooks Online, Feature Spotlights, and the app, RedTeam, it's construction management software. I've been really looking forward to this one for several weeks since I was been talking with RedTeam. And by the way, we have Chelsea Sykes here who will do some of the demo. Fred Guiton, who's also from RedTeam as well, and he's going to break down something for you. As well as we have a bonus, a special guest, Annette Bain, who's a longtime pro advisor, and her focus has always been in the construction segment. And she leverages often QBO with RedTeam. So we'll go over the agenda in a sec. But I just wanted to thank you for taking the time out of your day to come in and join in. Go about an hour. Now, administratively, you will see a questions box where you can ask questions. Right? You should be seeing my screen, just the first page of the PowerPoint. I'll introduce myself briefly. Got a few slides to show to align on QBO. I'm actually not going to be in QuickBooks Online at all. I'm going to give the time over to RedTeam to go through RedTeam as well as QuickBooks Online. If there's some thematic question that either I or Annette can address, maybe I'll dive into QBO a little later, but I know she'll show some of that as well. But there is a questions box. You can ask us questions. Anything QBO related, I'll try to address as we're going. And then for RedTeam, I will save those questions specifically for the end of the presentation. In the last 10 minutes or so, 10 or 12 minutes, we'll go through questions and stuff. So hope you can hear me fine and see the screen as well. So this is me, Woody Adams, longtime product consultant with Intuit, been with Intuit since 2004. I am a pro advisor, but I really just focus now on QBO. I grew up on the desktop, like maybe some of you are still using QuickBooks Pro or Premier, and then I've been using QBO since 2009. So lots of changes. And also weekly, I still do the QBO show with Stacy Kildall. You can find out more about that. By the way, this short few slides of PowerPoint, I uploaded this deck in the handout section. There's a bunch of links in here for other resources and things like that, so feel free to take advantage of that. Now, the work changes. So some of you are still probably using desktop. You might be here today and you want to be mobile, the phone app, etc. QBO Plus, as you'll see, was with another slide I have in here. And then, of course, what RedTeam shows, QBO Plus just does not have a full, robust job costing module or workflow in it. Okay, I'll explain what it does do versus where RedTeam would come in. But still, mobility, automation of data entry. As you're reading some of these bullet points, desktop and then the advantages of QBO. You can automate data entry at the bank feed and bank rule level. The books have more of a chance of being up to date by month because, you're in the same file as your client. Right? So you're able to log in. You're not worried about backups or portables or the accountant's copy file or sending files back, right? It's not multiple versions or copies of the client file. You're in the single ledger with the books, okay? And in terms of RedTeam, of course, QBO is just going to be the general ledger, really. RedTeam doing all the heavy lifting, which Chelsea and Annette will get to in a bit. So no installation, no programs to update or maintain. All that's done on Intuit servers, and then, that's QBO. Plus, there's a phone app as well. So you're totally mobile as long as you have a high-speed internet access. And you can even auto-send sales transactions and reports. So there's that, right? And you guys probably already know the obvious difference between desktop platform and QBO. But I just wanted to remind you, just in case, you're still using Pro or something, which is fine. Still viable platform, but you really want to be more mobile, then QBO is a way to go. But how do I get more, right, job costing features? Well, that's really what today's about. Now, there are 3 levels of QuickBooks Online. You got Simple Start, Essentials, and Plus, but for the most part, and I think Annette would agree, most of her clients are going to be on Plus. Plus, QuickBooks Online Plus is most akin to QuickBooks Pro. That's where you get into class and location tracking, more users. If you are doing like a light inventory, with purchase orders. But really for two-sided, or you might know them as double-sided items, pass-through time, material, expense, and profitability by project or sub-customer, as well as budgets, that's all at the Plus level. So Essentials would not have that. In Essentials, you start with accounts payable tracking, recurring transactions, and a few other things, multi-currency. The Plus is, I think, really what you need if you're used to Pro. This is what I would suggest to any product or service-based business, right? And QuickBooks Online Plus is the subscription level of QBO that RedTeam integrates with. Now, QuickBooks Online Plus currently does support for clients that just don't need a lot, light job costing, if you will, pass-through time material expense, which can also be automated, two-sided items for your non-inventory and service items, track phases of the jobs, right? Profitability for projects or sub-customers, whichever you use for that, as well as, recently, in the last several months, we added progress invoicing, right? So, and there's some good stuff coming as well, but really light job costing needs, okay? Not really true construction management scheduling software, okay? And if you want to know more about, what are all the features and settings and what are the results of those, what are the workflows in QBO Plus for service-based clients that might not need something more sophisticated, then there's a registration link to our QBO Beyond the Basics for Service-Based Business webinars. We just had one today, actually, so it's like every 2 weeks. But this is really what I'm excited about today and what we're here for, right? Enough about what I'm sharing about me. The feature gaps filled by RedTeam, and this is just kind of scratching the surface of the list, but construction and process. We have no whip reel reporting in QBO, estimate to actual reporting, change orders, true labor burden by job tracking, AIA billing, project management. They even handle the AR and AP management by job or for a job, as well as timekeeping by job and expense tracking. And there's just so much more.
So we want to thank everybody for joining us and QuickBooks for the opportunity to do this. This is something that's really exciting for us. We've had a long relationship with QuickBooks, and it's been a great integration. So first, I want to introduce everybody to a couple people I have here from our team. Myself, I'm a RedTeam expert, been here for a few years and really knowledgeable with the software program. We have Annette Bain, who you've heard Woody speak on behalf of. She has more experience than I think most of the company combined here, so we really rely on her for a lot of the integration and the paths that we take moving forward. And then we also have Fred, who is RedTeam's Chief Strategy Officer, and he's going to give us a couple minutes here just to kind of explain to you who RedTeam really is.
Well, good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. We're excited to spend some time with you guys today. If you look at RedTeam in a very, very simple sentence, is that we are general contractors that get in the software business. And what we looked at is the need for a easy solution for the marketplace to be available so that general contractors in the commercial space can, perform their work more efficiently and ultimately gain peace of mind that the people that need to know what they need to know when they need to know it. We look at construction as you're moving bricks for dollars, and RedTeam really combines the two elements, very, efficiently, and really helps make sure that the project management team and the accounting team are always on the same page with a live environment. So it's extremely efficient, and it's been a very successful partnership. We currently have nearly 200 general contractors across the United States that leverage this tool.
All right, so now that you guys have learned a little bit about us, there's a little bit more to us than just the financial end. So some other things that RedTeam does is we've got great tools for field management. We start as early as building opportunities inside of the platform and then escalating them throughout closeout of a project. So again, a lot of you haven't actually had the opportunity to see RedTeam. So let's talk about the financials for a second here, and then I'll actually give everybody a brief overview of what the product looks like, and then we can kind of dig into the financials a little bit deeper after that. So some of the benefits with this integration that we really hear a lot of feedback on, a lot of positive feedback, is the real time, lack of duplicate entry, and then of course the AIA progress billing is usually a huge plus for contractors. So that being said, let's dive in now here. I'm going to pull up RedTeam. So I am logged in. This is what we see when we first come into the platform. We're really great at collaborating everybody from field, office, any third parties, and just kind of streamlining communication. Over here on the left-hand side, we're just going to jump into a project here. Again, just give you an idea of what this software really does, and we can't get too deep in this today, but it does just about everything. So if we're looking at projects in here and we want to actually come into one, you see that from the early phases of loading in your scope and having our contractors get everything inside of this program, all the way through closing these projects out. We're covering everything. We're including everybody, opening up all these different chats, so everything's time-stamped and we're collecting logs, and really more importantly, we're getting a lot of reports out of the system. When we have our contract here with the customer, we're able to actually build estimates in RedTeam, pull them into that contract, and then once we've been awarded the work, we're taking these and they're coming right into our budget. So here we can review everything, and as we're integrated with RedTeam, as soon as I'm paying an invoice to a purchase order, or as soon as customers are paying us, everything is updating here in real time, so we can actually highlight into this labor that we have here for $10,000 and see what employee we have a labor authorization for or anything, and see what we have in open. We can adjust our budget, our contingency. We can come in and pull lots of these different reports, a financial overview being one of the most important reports that our system creates. This is a per project basis, although we do have WIP reports for the entire company as well as AR and AP reports. Jumping back in here, I'll show you the buyout. A lot of contractors really appreciate that we put their language from their contracts that they've had created for their companies inside of the program. So whether I have two different types of subcontract agreements, purchase orders, you name it, we have all of them stored in here for the contractors so they can send them directly to them. And then as I receive invoices against these commitments, we are simply just entering them into RedTeam here. And then as we are entering them into RedTeam here, they are going to seamlessly integrate right over to QuickBooks. So whether I'm routing for approval or anything like that. I'm sorry, let me just take 1 second here. Woody, I see that we have a couple people having audio issues.
Yeah, so far just 2 people have mentioned that. I haven't seen anyone else mention it, so typically you'd see a whole page if there was a lot of audio issues. So I usually just suggest to reload the page. There's some internet buffering that happens, yeah, so yep. Yeah, so most people are responding that they can hear you well.
All right, let's keep going here. Okay, so as we're receiving those invoices against those commitments, the way that we're going to speak to QuickBooks is I'm actually just going to come in and I can create an invoice one-off here without a commitment that it's related to, or I can simply go ahead and take that invoice and put it in against a commitment we've already created in RedTeam, and then do what we call routing for approval. So we actually create a matrix when you start your configuration with the software, where we can route it to different people based on what they do for your company, based on a particular name. So I might send this to my controller or to a project manager to verify that that work was completed before payment. And in doing that, if I slide over here, going a little fast here, but if we slide all the way over, I can see every single transaction linking to QuickBooks. So this is as simple as logging into my QuickBooks and clicking pay, because I can see my whole team has already confirmed that we're ready to go ahead and send that money. And the same thing works with our billing. So when I go ahead and I bill a customer, and we do have the AIA-styled progress billing formats in here, so if I come in here, we see this is what they look like. And once I create this and the customer signs it for me, and we go ahead and accept that in RedTeam, again, just like our commitments, it does post right over into QuickBooks. We can pull a log to see who's managing this within our company. And then as soon as we accept those funds from the customer, it will automatically mark it as received inside of RedTeam. So here we'll be able to pull our receivables aging, and again, just lots of different reports we can pull from the program. Outside of the financials, we also manage all of the project management, the pre-con, scheduling, a great mobile application for the people in the field, and a lot of people really need the RFIs and being able to log communication, so our dialogue is going to capture all of that information. All right, so we're going to take just a minute here. I'm going to go ahead and pass this over to Annette. She's got a lot of information on this. She can dig a lot deeper into these reports and, really helping everybody understand what this accounting functionality is and what it's like in that integration. So Annette's going to go ahead and show us some images here to give everybody a better idea of what that looks like.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for taking your time. Thank you, Chelsea and Fred, and for RedTeam. RedTeam has really made the difference between the ability to move from the desktop to the cloud for many of our clients. My background, I started working with Master Builder. Anybody that's out there remember that? Way back in 1981. I moved on to become a pro advisor and an Intuit master trainer. We pioneered online training and certification with Intuit way back in the 80s. I've sat on the Intuit Advisory Council, and I later became a #1 solution provider in the United States. Very proud of my history with Intuit. I love the company. I love the products. I've been an independent consultant to 700 plus contractors, mostly in the state of Florida, but not all. And then I worked as a controller for a $50 million general contractor through the recession. This was a previous client of mine. And actually took that contractor. I actually years ago moved them from QuickBooks to Master Builder, and then in 2015 we moved them back from Master Builder to QuickBooks Online. Today I'm working independently again as a pro advisor, working with contractors only. That's all I do is commercial general contractors, and the only accounting product I work with now is QuickBooks Online. I would like to share one story with you briefly for the accountants and pro advisors in the audience. In 2015, when we made the decision to move this general contractor company to QuickBooks Online, I was very hesitant, very conservative. So we actually did a complete parallel run for the entire year of 2015. This company is audited, an audited general contractor, and the auditors were working with me. They knew I was doing this. We had agreed that we would audit the company with Master Builder and take a look at what QuickBooks and RedTeam had done and decide how to move forward for 2016. Well, to my surprise, to my pleasant surprise, and to everyone's surprise, the QuickBooks Online data was so much more accurate. It was absolutely phenomenal because we had eliminated the manual entry of thousands and thousands of invoices and timesheets. The API and RedTeam worked beautifully. To make a long story short, the auditors audited RedTeam software and QuickBooks Online that very first year in 2015. And that client has not looked back. So if you are hesitating moving larger general contractors to QuickBooks Online, I understand your hesitancy, but I will tell you that QuickBooks Online handles it beautifully. I wouldn't necessarily do it without RedTeam software. Actually, I don't think you could do it for a large commercial general contractor without RedTeam software. So that's just a little bit about how I got here. I do wanted to address your objectives as accountants and pro advisors, why you would look at RedTeam. Do you want to help your contractor clients become more profitable, work more efficiently, be mobile perhaps, less stressed hopefully? You looking to add additional services to your clients, or basically are you looking for increased opportunities for you and your firm? I think RedTeam and the QBO platform and their integration provide all of the above for you. And encourage you to reach out to Fred and Chelsea and their team at RedTeam and see what opportunities are available for you. And I think Red's going to address their program later on in the presentation. You can't really talk about a commercial GC without completely understanding the revenue formula, work in process, percentage of completion. And it's really very simple if you have the tools to give that to you. We're really comparing the percent of the contract that we build to the percent of completion. Percent of completion, of course, is going to require a budget and real-time accurate job cost. And job cost that's smart, that's done right. It has to respect the contract. It has to respect the old matching principle. It has to respect change orders. There's timing, accounting periods involved. So those two give you your over and under billing. Over and under billing is critical, of course, to construction because it adjusts your revenue to what it really is. And I'll tell you what, with trying to do this in spreadsheets like many of us have done for many, many, many years, it's time consuming, it's error prone. So what I can do with RedTeam is right out of the box. Well, it's not in the box, it's in a cloud. We have the ability to print a WIP. There's several different flavors of WIP. There's a standard, a simple WIP report, the revenue report, project accounting, estimate at complete. There's several versions of this to assist the general contractor in managing not only each individual project, but their entire company. So given the fact that I can now get my over and under billing straight out of RedTeam, it's a simple journal entry into QuickBooks Online. I now have the ability to take advantage and leverage QuickBooks Online with a revenue number that means something. I can go into QuickBooks and send the management reports to my team. I can send my financial statements to my bonding company and to the banker. So this truly is, to me, the sweet spot of RedTeam. The fact that that I can get this advanced accounting straight from RedTeam and post it into QuickBooks. It's truly, as Woody said, the heavy lifting. So since we build this workshop as job costs, let's talk about RedTeam's job cost integration with QuickBooks Online. RedTeam takes your cost codes, and you can generate beautiful job cost reports in RedTeam, but it also creates classes over in QuickBooks that match. It maps their cost codes in RedTeam to classes in QuickBooks Online. One of the things that I recommend doing, especially for the new adapter of QuickBooks Online and RedTeam, is to compare those job cost numbers. If RedTeam is in charge of all of your projects, your cost of goods sold over in QuickBooks should match your RedTeam job cost. And I will tell you that in my $50 million general contractor, it did. The different ways that costs are generated in RedTeam are your standard construction. You get your material expense from your supplier bills. And RedTeam does a beautiful job of what we call buyout or commitment management. We use purchase orders for materials, subcontracts for our subcontractors. Some people call them task orders. Our subcontractors' pay apps in RedTeam are based on a schedule of values too. They're not just a flat invoice. They're based on percentage of completion of each line item on a schedule of values, just like our AIA billing to our owners. So it's construction-specific accounts payable that drives a lot of the job cost here. We have timesheets in RedTeam where you can distribute your time and your labor across multiple jobs and multiple cost codes. And that goes directly to QuickBooks. So in QuickBooks, your labor cost is already job costed. And I'm going to come back and talk to you about something in just a moment here. Well, I'll go ahead and talk about it now. RedTeam can export their timesheets and their payroll to a file for third-party payroll services such as ADP and Paycor. And when you do your journal entry, if you are working with a client that has outsourced their payroll and they're very familiar with the journal entry to get that payroll back onto their books, to credit cash and accrue payroll liabilities and so forth, if you're not using something like RedTeam, that journal entry can be very cumbersome if you choose to job cost your labor. With RedTeam, that goes away. It's a very simple journal entry because RedTeam's already done the job costing of your labor, just like it does the subcontract and material expenses. One of the cooler things, too, that I've enjoyed in the last year especially are expenses. And this would be through credit card charges and on company credit cards. And as accountants, we all cringe when we even hear that because it's very difficult to manage. RedTeam has an app, a mobile app on the phone that's very competitive with other expense solutions on the market. You can take a picture of your receipt and book it right to the project cost, or you can even track indirect cost. You as the system administrator can map all of the expenses to different chart of accounts over on the QuickBooks side. So the employee expense reimbursements are treated pretty much the same way. Mobile app is the way to go with that. It's faster, it's real time, and you have a better chance of people actually using the tool and capturing those expenses and receipts. So the job cost is certainly robust in RedTeam, and it's coming to QuickBooks via an API in a very clean and efficient manner. There's other integrations that Chelsea mentioned, other accounting integrations. I'm focusing specifically on the accounting side of the house. We have a transaction in RedTeam. When RedTeam sends it to QuickBooks, it will check and automatically insert the customer, the vendor, projects, cost code, the employee, and all of the time and expenses into QuickBooks. So if it's not there, the transaction will create them for you. And I know many of you pro advisors in the audience have gone through many years of setting up companies and importing and creating lists of vendors and lists of customers, and RedTeam automated that. It's absolutely beautiful. The accounts payable bills are going to show up in QuickBooks accounts payable, and then when we use QuickBooks for what QuickBooks is meant for, to be an accounting tool, a trial balance a general ledger, a bookkeeping tool. We cut those vendor payments to the vendors, whether it's with a credit card payment or a check. That payment information goes straight back to RedTeam. So now my project manager in the field can open that invoice and see exactly the check number and the check date and whether it was paid. RedTeam also does the same thing with those receivable invoices on what is a very complex invoice on the RedTeam side as far as the AIA part style billing. The progress bill creates an invoice over in RedTeam for the customer and customer payment in QuickBooks when we receive the payment, whether it's with QuickBooks payments and credit cards or a check. That also goes back to RedTeam. So it's a true collaborative effort. Accounting now talks to operations and project management without having people come into the client's office and ask all those questions. So given that, the reporting, I love the accounts receivable summary aging in QuickBooks, but it doesn't address retainage. And of course, the surety and the bonding company and the bankers, they want to see retainage. They want to see a true construction AR aging. And RedTeam provides that. And Chelsea, when we go back over to the application, let's look at the AR aging. Okay. Same thing with accounts payable aging. The accounts payable aging is grouped by project, and that's what's important. Work in progress, we've also shown you, Chelsea showed you the financial overview, and then the job cost reporting over there, budget to actual job cost is phenomenal. So you can use both. And I do recommend, like I said, using both. Test it out, prove it, prove RedTeam. Check your job cost in QuickBooks and check it in RedTeam, and you'll find that it matches beautifully. Now for the accountants in the group, and I know this is hard to see, but you'll have the slide deck later. I just wanted you to see that a payroll transaction in QuickBooks, it's debiting my direct labor, and it's crediting an accrual, payroll accrual, and the difference being overhead. Now, I'm not going to get into a lot of detail here, but the fact is my job cost is already done for my timesheets. This guy could have worked for 15 jobs. Same thing on the accounts payable side. It's talking straight to accounts payable and debiting my job cost. So job cost for a commercial general contractor is very doable in QBO Online. Big companies are using RedTeam now, and I have to tell you, I couldn't be happier with the result I'm seeing from my clients. So Chelsea, thank you very much. I appreciate it, and I'm going to hand it back over to you.
Annette, after her having dug a little bit deeper in her forest on looking at the accounting and understanding that, I think something that I really want to make sure everyone's aware of is that the scalability that we have with the size of contractors that we can take on between both programs is just, mind-boggling. We have companies that are doing up to $350 million a year using these two programs together today. So this is not anything that's just for, your typical startup or anything. We can take anybody from there all the way to the most extreme. So these two solutions together and the seamless integration really are for just about any commercial GC that you're going to come across. And with that being said, let's kind of round it out here and talk about what this is going to do for anybody with Intuit that we're working with and any of the product specialists that we have here today. We'd like to kind of invite you guys to learn a little bit more about what we have here.
So now that you have a sense of what the RedTeam QBO combination provides for commercial contractors, we want to introduce for the first time an opportunity for us to build a more formal relationship with QBO specialists that understand commercial construction. The first type of partner program we're introducing is for basically anyone, regardless of experience. It's a straight-up referral partner program where if you have a general contractor who wants to explore RedTeam and you'd like to have a demo done, and obviously we invite you to be on the demo of the product so you can understand a little bit more. We're offering a straight referral representing 10% of the first year contract value. What that represents, it depends on the size of the contractor. I mean, we have contractors that pay, a few $1,000s a year, $3,000, $4,000 a year, up to, $40,000, $50,000 a year for the program. So it can be a pretty lucrative opportunity for you guys. The second opportunity, which is limited to 8 participants, and that should specify really 7, because we already have one person that's on our team as far as that's concerned, is to become a certified partner. The certified partner of RedTeam will be receiving direct referrals from RedTeam of general contractors who are choosing to adopt RedTeam QuickBooks, and will help them implement the solution and possibly, retain your services long term to help them manage the two working platforms together. So you're going to receive direct connections that are looking for professional help, and you'll be able to obviously charge for that service. It's not designed to be a free service, obviously. You'll be eligible to be part of the what we call RedTeam QuickBooks Launchpad, which is a program that we want to formalize that experience for the general contractor. We also are looking for this to be really specific. So the reason why we're limiting it is because the person or the 8 people we'll have on this team are asked to understand RedTeam. So there is a kind of a process we want to go through collectively so that we can discuss your experience with commercial general contractors. So what we're going to be asking for is having a couple of references that you already work with in the commercial general contractor space. We're going to ask you to probably review a few videos in RedTeam, and we have a tool to do this so you can get familiar with RedTeam. We'll have probably a couple of phone conversations to ensure that there's complete alignment as far as what the customer experience looks like. And we'll also ask that you have a review in the apps.com store. We're a big fan of apps.com. We think that's a very good environment. So that's what we're asking there. The participants that are going to be part of this are also going to be invited, and we'll fly you and offer you a hotel room for a night to spend a day at RedTeam, so that we can collaborate and talk about what is going on in the commercial general contractor space, and what are things we can do better, what are things that are working well, and how can we create a better value proposition to the marketplace. Those of you that are interested to become either a referral partner or a certified partner, my request is for you to email me directly. We're going to have a very organized process to work with you, to learn about you. We want this to be a very good relationship. We want it to be successful for you. My email is right here, fguiton@redteam.com. And so just send me a direct email. Please title it Partner Program so that I know what this is about. If you're also really looking to be a certified partner and you already meet or that expectation of having at least 2 commercial general contractors as customers, feel free to add certified partner in the title. So this way will help me prioritize the emails and I can make sure to get back to you very, very quickly. All right, so that is what we're offering. We're excited about this. Right now, all the GCs that we have, every year we have, more and more contractors on other platforms looking to switch to QBO for all the reasons we've spoken about here in this conversation. So we're very excited to work with you guys.
Absolutely. So we hope to get a lot of feedback from you guys on that. As you can see, Fred's email address is still at the bottom right-hand side. However, if there's any additional questions based on anything specifically that we did not cover today, we do have some questions here we're going to start to go over. But anything else after today's demonstration, if it's specific to RedTeam, please send that to the bottom right-hand side, go.redteam.com/more info. Or if it's anything that's related to Intuit, if you have any product specialist questions or how to become one, please direct those over to Intuit. Woody's going to go ahead and kind of put those where they need to go or handle them as need be. So it's Woody_Adams@intuit.com. And let's go ahead and start going through some questions. We've got a few we've received here in the last 15, 20 minutes or so. So we're going to have Annette help us with some of these. The first one that I really wanted to go to is this one right here. So we've got somebody wanting an example of AR and AP aging reports. So I do still have RedTeam open. So let me just pop this in here real quick. Okay. So if we've got everyone back on the screen, what I wanted to show you is we're still in that project we were looking at earlier today. But if I just open up my main menu on the right-hand side here, I do have my accounts receivable and accounts payable. This is coming over directly from QuickBooks, so these are real-time reports. So here's that payable that somebody requested to see here.
So on the accounts payable aging, you'll see that we have the the date, the through date, which is so important with our general contractors, our subcontractors, and the actual invoice due date. Many of us work with GCs that pay when paid. You're going to see the approved amount. This is after the invoice has been routed, the amount that's in retainage, what's been paid to date, and then it's going to be aged all the way out to 60 plus, and then your total due amount on the far right-hand side. So it's a very, very nice looking payable aging, very easy to read. It can be filtered by company division, and it can be filtered by accounting period, so it ties back to your financial statements.
So if I'm looking over here, I do see that we've got a couple people asking about payroll. We do integrate with third-party payroll. It's more of an export-import that you would be doing. We're not going to automatically just insert this into it, but we do provide it all, including time, workers' comp. All of that information will come on the timesheets. And they can do that right from the mobile applications, directly from the field, as well as doing it in the office or at home.
Someone asked about salaried employees and whether they could job cost their salaried employees and enter the actual hours. Yes, RedTeam does a beautiful job of that. I have many clients that are paying their employees a flat salary, but for example, a project manager will put in his hours to multiple different projects, and RedTeam is smart. It's configured appropriately that it will only send over to payroll the amount for the 40-hour week, for example, for a salaried employee. So yes, we do handle hours for salaried employees.
Okay. I do see somebody asking about offline. Our mobile application does work offline for RedTeam, so that, we have a lot of contractors that are working in basements of hotels or hospitals, so we do have the offline capability. However, it is more for the field side for your superintendents and whatnot. We are going to have a copy of today's presentation. I believe that we're going to go ahead and edit that and have that available to everybody. We do have a tablet application. Employees can, technically it's not a punch in, punch out, but they can do time in, time out, and then you can just put in an allotted amount of hours. You can also create labor authorizations for them so that they are only putting in hours within a certain cost code or project that you've allotted them in a specific time frame. There is no GPS location for employees for tracking their time. However, Intuit does have a couple of applications that it integrates with that can do that for you, that will integrate with your QuickBooks account. For a percentage of completion on invoicing, yes, we do have that within the program. Users, we have several different types of, somebody's asking how many users, is it limited and whatnot. For RedTeam, that's going to be, it's unlimited. We have several different companies using as little as 1 or 2 users up to 80, 90. So really, that's why we have an unlimited software program for them.
Someone asked about Bill.com, and I will tell you that I have used Bill.com in conjunction with RedTeam and QBO. What happens is the Bill.com integrates with QBO beautifully, and then, of course, that information, after the payment is made through Bill.com, it marks the invoice paid in QuickBooks, and then it sends it straight back over to RedTeam. So, yes, that has been tested, and that works.
Okay. We do have somebody looks like they might be a subcontractor interested in this. Although we do have some subcontractors, really, I think that you'd want to specifically reach out to us at the website I had up earlier. That's going to be dependent upon what you're using for your accounting. Are you self-performing a lot? There's a lot of different things that go into that, so we would need a little bit more information. However, yes, we do have subcontractors on RedTeam today. Okay.
And I have a question for Annette, if that's okay. It's Woody.
Sure.
From what you see in the integration, so do you set up the subcontractors in RedTeam, or will it just pull over the vendors from QBO upon integration? I'm assuming most of the lists come into RedTeam like that.
I'm sorry, Woody, could you repeat the question?
Yeah, just for the subcontractor question, because a lot of people use QBO Plus to track subcontractors as vendors. Does RedTeam just pull that vendor list in upon integration?
On the initial implementation, you can certainly provide a list of vendors, projects, customers, employees, and RedTeam will import them for you. But moving forward, let's say you have a new vendor that's in RedTeam, a new subcontractor. As soon as there's a financial transaction, for example, an invoice comes through, that vendor would be created in QuickBooks Online for you automatically. It becomes inserted directly in there.
Awesome. Thanks. Hey, Chelsea, do you want me to just read some questions down? I mean, we got quite a bit of time left, so we could probably answer most of these questions between you and Annette for sure. Do you want me to just read them down from the top, or?
Yeah, we're actually starting here. We had to zoom in a little bit, but okay. So we do see. We'll go ahead and kind of try to cover all these ones on Red Team here, since we do have a bit more time left.
Yeah, one question that's being asked about the need to have two GC client references prior to become certified partner. It is simply because our clients, when they go onto RedTeam and they choose QBO, oftentimes they've been on another accounting platform, and want to make sure that whoever helps them transfer over to RedTeam has had experience working with GCs and understands what the concerns are. So it is very likely that many referral partners will turn into certified partners. We're going to expand that group. But for now we want to have a pretty small team. So that's the logic behind it. I hope it makes sense for everyone on the call.
Okay, great. So we did at the very beginning, did get a question about RedTeam and QuickBooks. Are these two separate platforms? And the answer is yes. RedTeam is an app for QuickBooks Online, and it does have to be QuickBooks Online Plus. I think I did cover this already, but there's a question on invoices and things importing. It's really not an import. The reason why this is such a powerful integration is because it's seamless. So as we're putting these invoices and as we're billing the customer in RedTeam, everything is seamlessly integrating in QuickBooks. So it's as simple as I could enter an invoice in right now against a commitment, and Annette could open up her QuickBooks Online and see it sitting right in there. So we're not forcing anything. It's just all automated. Okay, we did cover percentage of completion, but I see another question came in on that. Yes, we do track that percentage of completion inside of the program.
We do it for both accounts receivable, as in an AIA type invoice, the schedule of values and percent complete. We also handle the subcontractors' invoices using a schedule of values and percentage of completion.
Exactly. And then we talked about having unlimited users, but somebody specifically wanted to understand if there's settings or functions for each individual one. So we do handle that. We set up every single employee. When you first start up with RedTeam, we go ahead and start configuring profiles and setting them up based on what roles and permissions that you want to make available for them. It could be based on as simple as all my PMs have this access and all my superintendents have this one, or you can do it per person on a basis that way to kind of tighten it down a little bit more.
Also, there was a question about when a CPA works with several clients and how the onboarding process works. The way it works is, when the GC selects to, utilize RedTeam for their enterprise, we have a full implementation team that will not only help them set up a lot of the platform within RedTeam, but also, train them to use the platform. We often ask if the account wants to be involved in the conversation during the training. It's a very welcome addition. We've even had many accountants that have called us separately so we can, brainstorm together to ensure that we're given context. So when we go through the implementation process, we have already, different key elements that may have to be addressed up front, and worked on together.
Woody, I'd like to address a question regarding changing the invoices in QBO. Ideally, all of your cost of goods sold or your direct expenses come from RedTeam and get posted or inserted directly into QuickBooks Online. In a perfect world, you wouldn't make those changes. In a perfect world, you wouldn't change those invoices. You can change descriptive information, but if you change the amount, for example, the vendor, you've broken the link, and it would be unlinked over in RedTeam. So that's not a great idea. Now, if you need to make changes to an existing invoice, whether it's an invoice for payables or receivables, you would uncommit it on the RedTeam side. It'll pull it back out of QuickBooks, make your corrections in RedTeam, recommit it, and send it back to QuickBooks with the correction. That way you keep your two systems in perfect sync.
That's awesome. And I'm sure it's often how you train the client in the workflow that you want them to use in that, right? So knowing both platforms well, you're going to give them you're going to give me the exact workflow you want me to follow so that there's less mistakes and issues for you, right? Better reporting, et cetera. Yeah.
Correct. And also when I do the comparison between RedTeam's job cost and QBO's job cost, I'll know if something has been either deleted in QuickBooks, and QuickBooks Online does warn you that it's connected to another application. So yes, training and procedures are key here.
Awesome.
So let me address a couple of questions. There's a couple of times people are asking us, what the cost of RedTeam is. It really depends on the size of the enterprise. So it is based on, we have two scenarios, but the primary scenario that our clients select, they use a single license. It's an annual license. And that license cost is based on the size of the enterprise. So it's based on the annual construction revenue that they have on an annual basis. For us to give you a range, $5 million GC, they'd be looking at somewhere about $6,000 a year for the software with unlimited users, unlimited projects. We even offer a price lock guarantee. There's some restrictions there. There's a minimum size account that's required for us to give a price lock guarantee. That being said, general contractors are very sensitive to the risks associated with adopting a software the first year, and then the second year seeing their price jump, to double. And so we do offer a 3-year price guarantee agreements if that's what the general contractor wants.
We're going to go ahead and pull up a slide real quick because we do have a couple of duplicate questions here we want to go ahead and show everybody. So give me just a second here. Let me go ahead and pull this up. Okay, so Annette's going to go ahead and answer a couple of these questions that we have here.
Someone had asked a question about the costing of labor, and I wanted to go back to that payroll transaction that I had on a slide. So the question was, if I have a salaried employee that's making $2,000 a week and I want to job cost them hourly, RedTeam gives you the option of job costing using gross wage or a burdened wage using a standard markup for the labor burden, or a standard wage, as in like a prevailing wage or Davis-Bacon wage. And we certainly handle that. If I looked at this transaction here, this particular employee's salary is $1,200. Okay, that's what they're going to get paid, and that's what's going to export to the third-party payroll service. However, I'm job costing $1,680. In this case, this one's a little weird. We're job costing a little bit more. We're using either a burden or a markup or a standard wage. The difference is overhead applied, because that's what you're job costing. You're job costing the $1,200 salary plus some labor overhead. So absolutely, we do that. And you have several different configurations that you can set up to make that happen. Okay, and one other thing I wanted to show you, I had another question about the accounts receivable aging. Okay, thank you very much for your patience. I wanted to show you the invoices and the retainage. We had talked before about the accounts receivable aging, and I wanted to bring that up. We had a little snag there for a minute, but we do have the aging with the billing and the retainage tax, if applicable, receivable received, and then of course it gets aged on out to 30 days in this particular report. There are several different agings in here, and again, I can filter them by accounting period, or I can actually filter them by date if I choose to do so. So I hope that answers your questions about the aging.
Okay, so we are just reviewing a couple of the questions. I'm just trying to make sure that we are getting through all of these. If you are already on QuickBooks, yes, you would still have to reach out to RedTeam and do a product overview, get a demonstration, and kind of speak with a specialist here. Because they are two separate products, you would have to purchase RedTeam outside of QuickBooks as well. I have a question about integration with Sage 300. RedTeam actually has capability of exporting and importing transactions and whatnot out of the program, invoices, customer billings, expenses, timesheets. So a lot of what our users are doing that are not currently fortunate enough to be on QuickBooks Online, right? They are doing just that. They are exporting and importing or using them as two separate systems. However, there's a lot in the works here. This has been a couple big years for RedTeam. We're growing tremendously. So keep your eyes open for any new integrations that we'll be releasing. If we do enter things in QBO, will they show in RedTeam? So really, the integration is a two-way integration, but the majority of what you're doing, because RedTeam takes so much of the heart of this, because we're pulling things from your estimate from as soon as you start a project within the program, everything's already in here. So it's not really anything we run into where somebody needs something from QuickBooks to come over when we're showing that something was paid, or to us, or that we are sending payment, that is automatically coming back into RedTeam, and we're actually capturing that and timestamping it in a transaction log. So that's the kind of information that we'll pull back. When you go to enter in new vendors or customers, you'll actually do that all on RedTeam, and it'll automatically insert them inside of QuickBooks for you. Okay, I did have somebody asking for assistance on potentially moving from their desktop account to an online. That's actually exactly what, a lot of the peers that we have here at Intuit are specializing in. So RedTeam is, we are RedTeam. We help as much as we can, but QuickBooks is really, they do a great job specializing and moving and transitioning from one program to another.
Yeah, we have teams that would handle the implementation from desktop to QBO. And I had a question for Annette. Do you ever bring over like enterprise QuickBooks, that they're using, your clients that were using that and now they're using RedTeam and QBO?
Yes, because of the size requirement, yes.
Totally. And did you see the question? I don't know if you guys had already addressed it. They're using enterprise now. They use classes for revenue tracking. So is that transferable to cost codes? I mean, I know we do classes in QBO Plus, but does RedTeam do something different, or does it recognize classes from QBO?
Typically what we do in the RedTeam side, because we're using classes for job costing, is we would import those that class list, the portion of it that pertains to job costs. You can certainly have additional classes that pertain to revenue and other items that you're selling. But we import that directly into RedTeam, and we just call it cost codes because that's the term in construction. So it has not been a problem.
Awesome. That's good to know. And Chelsea, what about the time? Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I see I've got about 4 more that we're going to drill into, and I think we're going to go ahead and wrap it up here. Again, any specific questions that everybody has, please just go ahead and send them in here to this email. If it's for RedTeam, or if you need to get a hold of Woody, send it to his. We'll try to go through these. We've got just a few I think we won't be able to touch on today, but we'll be able to respond. We do have information here. I've got a couple I'm going to go ahead and jump into real quick. Somebody asking about equipment. We do have an equipment module, but it is more so for you to actually be able to track the equipment that you own. That's more or less how RedTeam handles it. There are other programs that will actually do it a little bit differently for you. We also have questions on service agreements and service dates and contracts and things like that. We have our own contracts set inside of RedTeam, and then your language goes into them, everything's set up properly, and then we'll automatically insert the dollar amounts into QuickBooks. But a vendor invoice, for example, you're actually putting all that information into RedTeam, then we create a disbursement authorization, and we are pushing the information back into QuickBooks. But everything, the original docs, everything is attached to these contracts inside of RedTeam. And you can create labor authorizations as well as purchase order, subcontract, expenses, so you can allocate the hours of an employee and job cost it out.
I'll answer the question about if a bill is attached, the image of an invoice is attached in QBO, would I see it in RedTeam? That's the opposite of the way it works. We have the invoice over in RedTeam from the vendor, and yes, the image is attached. You can see the commitment, you can see the previous invoices, you can see what we call a commitment audit. Currently, those images do not export, or they do not move over to the QuickBooks side. We're doing all of that heavy lifting over on the RedTeam side.
Okay. All right, so I think we're going to go ahead and close it out here. Please, if you have any questions, just send them to these email addresses you see that I have over here on the left-hand side. And then, I see a couple, like 2 or 3 more just came in as we're saying this, so we will be able to go ahead and reach out to you, and we have your information here, and we can answer those questions for everybody. But we really appreciate you, Woody, for taking the time to create this for us and send this out for us today, and everybody for coming in here. And, it was great. It was a great turnout. We're excited to, get some good feedback from this. Woody_Adams@intuit.com, or email RedTeam there for other questions. And thanks, everybody, for taking the time out today. Annette, thanks so much for coming on and, allowing us to learn from your expertise and how this platform, this complementary platform at QBO and RedTeam is already working really well for your practice. I mean, I think that there is enough, So thanks a lot for that.
You are welcome. It was my pleasure.
All right. And Chelsea and Fred, and everyone have a great day. Take care.
All right. Wonderful. Thanks, guys.